Travis Lulay joining us from Vancouver today from the BC Lions facility. Smiling as always. Good morning, Travis. How are you?
I am good, and happy Thanksgiving Tuesday to you guys at the Rod Pedersen Show.
Thank you, Travis. Where the BC Lions colors are always in the month of October. Very festive out there, right?
That's what it's for. I think that was the original idea, was orange in the fall, yes.
Hey, your take on officiating. I mean, there's got to be times where you left the gridiron very hot. What's your take on the number one topic in football these days?
Listen, people will never be satisfied with officiating, right? So I came to that conclusion a long time ago as a player, that I just started to recognize how often coaches are upset, players get upset, fans are always upset. Everybody always thinks their officiating wherever they are is the worst, whether it was the Big Sky Conference, it was Oregon 2A high school officiating was terrible. It was Pac-12 officiating. It's CFL. Now it's the NFL. Like, it's whatever you're watching. People think that's the worst. And you know what's interesting is as television has gotten better, we've gotten all these slow motion angles. People are harder on officials. And I get it. And, there's been a lot of steps to say they want to try to make officiating more accurate with instant replay and review and all these things, and trying to find ways to go. And listen, nobody's ever going to be in top. And so for me, on a personal level, I just accept it as part of the game. You mentioned perfection. It will never be perfect as long as humans are involved. Humans are imperfect creatures. They're not going to be perfect. But I'll say this. I actually was fortunate enough to speak to the CFL officiating crew at their after their training camp, if you will, in May. I flew into Toronto and spoke to those guys and hung out with those guys for an evening. And I think it's something that honestly players and coaches should have an opportunity to do more, is see those guys up close and personal and know they really are committed to the product, making the CFL product the best game it can be in an entirely different role, right? Obviously, players and coaches have our own thing of making the game the best and executing a high level and exciting plays and all that. But the officials really are committed to that same cause. And so I think it'd be beneficial league-wide to kind of reframe how we view officiating. They're not guys that are trying to make our jobs more difficult. These are guys trying to make our game better. And no, they're not perfect. We do expect high things from them. They should expect high things from themselves. They work like crazy to do it. They grade themselves and all that. But no, listen, officiating will never be perfect, but those guys are committed to making our game better. And I know they're working their tails off to try to get it right as best they can. They're good people with good hearts trying to make it go.
They're humans too. And as a matter of fact, I spoke to the exact same group like you did. They're good guys. And one thing I came away from is that they know that rule book inside out, man. Better than the coaches, better than the players. And they're supposed to make these split-second judgments at high speed. Like you said, now there's slow-mo. It's making them look bad. What do you think they think about video replay? Not much. But anyways, moving on, Travis. Yeah. Take us inside the Lions facility and what it's been like the past few weeks on the 4-game winning streak. You were pushing for 5 going into Edmonton, and the thought that, hey, this could actually happen.
Yeah. Well, I'll say there was a bit of a renewed energy around here, and it was one of those things where it looked like, before Labor Day, it looked like playoffs were going to be out of the discussion. And that was hard, even from business side, marketing side. Like, what are we saying to the fans? How do we continue to drum up excitement? And all of a sudden, Edmonton loses a couple games. The Lions are starting to come together and play a lot better football. Schedule's a little bit more advantageous, playing some Eastern opponents at BC Place, finally getting some home games more regularly. They were mostly on the road throughout the summer months. So all those things kind of align to make things a bit interesting. And it did certainly made for an intriguing matchup in Edmonton, being the team that we were chasing here in BC. But obviously it was really unfortunate outcome just with Mike getting hurt early in the football game. And with all due respect to Danny O'Brien, that's not how anybody won a game, right? Mike making a return and having a chance to keep things interesting in the West. So that part of it was disappointing. So, we've got 2 home games left. Now there's opportunities, and the guys are purely playing for pride and continuing to fight. I don't know if you saw the post-game locker room stuff, the way Odell Willis and Mike Riley addressed the team. But that's very real. It's not as though, people say, oh, these games don't matter. I mean, try telling that to a pro football player who's worked his entire life to get an opportunity to play, right? Every single opportunity matters, and the opportunities go by like that, and you never get it back. So those guys are going to continue to go out and fight and play hard. And, hopefully for Mike, he'll heal up quickly. Maybe he'll get an extra couple weeks here to just kind of mentally, physically, and emotionally recover from what was otherwise a tough season.
Travis Marshall here. Changing gears a little bit. We were talking earlier in the program about stable ownership and specifically about in Montreal. But what's the latest coming out of British Columbia? Because there's been talk for a long time about David Braley stepping away and selling to a group of local owners. What's the latest?
Yeah, what I can share is I know a lot of those conversations have been active and ongoing, and I know as you mentioned that there's been kind of rumor about when or if that might happen for several years now. But I do believe, at least the feeling is, and this is me not being privy to some closed door conversations, but the feeling is that David is actively looking to make a deal, and that Rick Lulay, president, is here to broker that deal, and he's working on it. I know, these are public comments that he's come forward and said. So I do know they've spoken to groups from several local groups, also groups that aren't necessarily local but have ties and interests to what may be the club. I do believe that's an ongoing discussion. I couldn't tell you beyond that, other than that I do believe it to be an active situation where it looks like David Braley is genuinely looking to sell at this point. And what that timeline looks like and what that actually means, a lot of us still don't know. But that's what I can tell you and what I understand the situation to be.
This might be a tough one. Devin in Winnipeg says, "Hi, Travis. Did the Blue Bombers give you a call?" Do you want to answer that one?
Sure. I mean, no, they didn't. I think I made it pretty clear when I walked away that I was going to be done. And my agent represents a number of guys throughout the league, so I think all the front office people have a pretty good understanding that I am happily retired, if you will. So no, especially late in the year, golly, that seems. It's funny, I'm only a year out, but that seems so far removed from being in the thick of the battle and the playoff hunt. So they're better off to find somebody who's active and engaged and doing it, though. I tell you what, I do watch games, though, sometimes, and, I kind of move the chicken wing around a little bit and say, I think I could still do it if I wanted to. But I've made that decision that I'm on the other side.
Well, when we started doing this at the start of the season, you weren't real sure where you were going, and now we're near the end, next. Have you kind of got a feeling for what you'd like to do?
Well, I got a number of things lined up, right? So I do some broadcast stuff for the Lions. I do the pre and post game radio stuff. I will be working at Grey Cup Media again this year. I'm doing this partnerships role with the Lions on the business ops, so I do a lot of community relations things. Wave the Lions flag in the community often. Do a number of public speaking engagements. So my plate is full, and I'm a full-time family man, and I love it. Actually, today is my oldest daughter, Parker's 7th birthday. So I'm going to have to show her this clip to let her know what Daddy does at work. He's actually just giving his daughter a shout-out on the internet. 7 years ago today, I skipped a practice to be there for the birth of my first child. And, anyone who's ever had a kid could tell you that's a life-changing moment. So it's crazy it's gone that fast. But here we are. I got a 7-year-old. And a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. So, yeah, life's a lot different than it was when that all started.
So you're not sitting around with nothing to do, as I get now, as fathers of several kids here.
Yeah.
So the Rider fans are writing in. They want to know what to expect Friday night. Lions, Riders, under the dome in BC Place. We're hearing Brandon Bridge is now a BC Lion. What should we expect from this game, Travis, on Friday night?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I just know from experience, when you're playing a team with nothing to lose, it's a little bit scary because Saskatchewan finds themselves in the thick of a battle for first place in the West, right? And there's a lot to be gained from winning first place and having a home bye and then a home game. So really all the pressure is on the Saskatchewan side. Now, BC obviously would have to play a good enough game to win, but when you've got nothing to lose, I mean, what's holding you back? I know this team in particular had a lot of high expectations at the beginning of the year, and when they underperformed, I felt like that pressure kind of bogged the group down a little bit, just kind of my observation, and that's all gone out the window. You got Danny O'Brien making a start this week. I don't think he started before in the CFL. What's he got to lose? He's been in the league a few years. He finally gets a chance to play. He's been hanging out with Mike, watching Mike play for a number of years. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing and hasn't played the game before. So that's always a bit of a wild card. Now you're going to be playing a team that's very much on a mission, and they has postseason ideas in mind. So, but I certainly think the fact that now that there's nothing riding on it in terms of postseason expectations for the Lions, it always makes that team a little bit dangerous.
Well, those games out there are always fun, so I know you'll enjoy it. They're always great battles between the Riders and Lions. Doesn't matter the records, doesn't matter when. So I appreciate the update, Travis. Have a great birthday party tonight, and maybe we'll chat with you in the CFL playoffs.
We will. And Rod, I knew you must be a BC Lions fan wearing a Chargers football sweatshirt. Ty Long, our punter kicker the last few years, is holding it down for the Chargers right now. So
he's kicking field goals too. I'm not a Chargers fan. I like the bunny hug, but I've been following him, man. Like he is.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't hurt to be able to do everything in the CFL, right? And go down there and be versatile.
And look at Mahar in Dallas, just kicked a 62-yarder. Former
right.
Ottawa Red Black kicked a 62-yarder for the Cowboys.
Right.
Yeah,
he tied his Dallas Cowboys franchise record with a 62-yarder this weekend. So good on the CFL guys, making us look good.
See, that's the thing. I am a Cowboys fan. That was the highlight of Sunday's game. Obviously,
sorry to bring up that memory.
Yeah. Always good chatting football with you, Travis. Thank you.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.